thing. You don't want people to know what you look like.
All right, and we're live.
Don't listen to me. Hey, everyone, we're live. It's the one and only V, the Guerrilla Economist, coming to you with the main man, El Cuco CJ, working the airwaves, making sure this broadcast is coming out crispy and clean. We have our two special guests who are my personal friends. The one and... I'm hearing some feedback here. I don't know where that's coming from. The one and...
going.
Huh?
You can keep going. You're fine now.
Oh, okay. The one and only Frank Delala and Mr. X, both from RemainCalm.net. RemainCalm.net. Don't freak out. Remain calm. And guys, we're going to talk a little bit about privacy. Most importantly, y'all been waiting for this. I've gotten tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of emails asking you, when is it happening, V? When is the Silverback coming? Is it going to come before holidays? Will Santa put it underneath the Christmas tree? What do I do? What do I do? Well, here's the answer for you. The Silverback is here. And folks, without further ado, Mr. X, tell us about it.
Oh, we finally made it, huh?
We finally did.
Oh my gosh, there's a little more work than I thought, but
yeah, just a little.
Yeah. But
Hey, John, if you have the YouTube stream open in the background, you need to mute it because we're getting double feed come through on your end. There you go.
You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is new. So you want me to tell you about this thing?
Yes.
The Silverback. Okay. This is another USB, but it's vastly different as far as it's a new operating system, and it arrives in a USB just like any one you would plug in your computer, and it's a steel and glass.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty slick looking case, and of course you can take it anywhere, just like with the gold USB. This one is different in so many different ways, though, because it actually has two operating systems, and one of the operating systems is broken in two parts. It's really cool. It's like almost having, the analogy would be as if I had, instead of my front door in my house, I had a cage, right? Let's say I had a cage on my house, and when someone came to the front door, he's actually not at the front door, he's at the other side of the cage. So
V lives in a cage, so...
I do. I'm actually forced to sleep in one every night.
Well, as long as you get plenty of bananas.
There you go.
So
my wife makes sure that I'm very well taken care of with the banana department.
Exactly. So if you let your guest in one side of the cage and you don't like them, you don't have to open the other side of the cage, or you can just close the other side and leave them in there. You know, there's all kinds of things. So that the way this operating system works is everything is compartmentalized. So let's say, for example, I open a window. You know how you open a browser window and you go log into your bank account, for example. Well, your whole computer is actually logged into the bank account. Everything's exposed. Everything's connected. There's no separation. But with this operating system, you've compartmentalized it. You've created not just a window, but it's called a domain. But really what it is a virtual machine. So the virtual machine that you open, you've defined how much memory you're going to allocate to that virtual machine or the window. And so when you're doing something that requires security, like accessing your bank records and using passwords and this sort of thing, let's say someone a day before put some malware on your computer. Let's say they even got root access, which is the worst kind of access you can get. It exposes your entire computer with malware. Even if you had that on your computer, the fact that you're using this operating system to access your bank account would not expose your bank account, even if someone had root access with malware. It's extremely strong. Yeah. There is nothing like this for average people like us, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure the military has something crazy, but this is really sophisticated. So what you have is when you run this thing, you can run several browsers in a virtual machine, or you can run one browser in each virtual machine, and each virtual machine or folder or domain can be something like, for example, I want to separate my work from my personal, like, home photos. But let's say I'm searching for something on the internet, okay, and sometimes I go to websites that I don't know. You know how sometimes you go to a website because you're looking for stuff and you get bombarded with a bunch of ads? You know, sometimes you get like all kinds of spyware and stuff.
Oh, all the time.
And I think we know enough where we can download that stuff, but who knows what's going to happen? Or maybe you click on something and you don't know. Maybe there's a little piece of spyware and you don't even know it, and it's just adding up in your computer. But anyways, what you're able to do with this virtual machine type operating system is you can go into these websites and do whatever you want, And let's say you run into something where you just got some sort of spyware, virus, or something. You could literally just click on the X and close out the virtual machine, the window, and it's gone. It's not on your computer, and it never got any data. It's as if you never went there. So each in this operating system, you'll have different virtual machines. So one would be for like untrusted sites. You can go into that virtual machine and look on whatever website you want that it's not trusted. The ones you go to all the time that you trust, no problem. But new ones, you can use your untrusted virtual machine. You've got one for business, one for personal, and you can even have one that's disposable. Like you can do a thing, like let's say, for example, you have a virtual machine, you're going on the dark web, and you're going to go look for something, you want to buy something, and you do your thing, whatever it is on the dark web, and you just remove that whole virtual window, and it dissolves like it was never used, like you were never on the dark web, and no one can ever backtrack and get the DNS. No one can ever backtrack and get the IP address. It's not recoverable. Nothing is there. It's like you were just a ghost.
That's intense.
You got to think about this for a second, because most people don't even think about wherever they're going. Their IP address is like saying, "Hey, everybody, look where I live." That's pretty much what the IP address does. Because if you really want to track someone's IP address, you can go to his house.
Wow.
Just a couple of things. But with this, you could just erase everything you did in the last 30 minutes. And that's like you have these options on your browsers. Like if you have an iPad or something, you can erase your previous history and stuff. It's not getting erased. Somebody's storing all that data, right? But with this operating system, it definitely is erased. No one's collecting that data. And even if someone did collect the data, it wouldn't track back to anybody.
It's not just the info that's getting erased. It's as if the whole computer got erased, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a better way to look at it, because really each virtual machine is its own computer. It's sharing your RAM with others, but it's allocated to your specific virtual machine. So your RAM is allocated and your processing time is allocated, so that when you erase that or delete that session, it's as if you never went there, and your allocation is reallocated back to everything else.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really strong. So, I mean, imagine you can go, like, for example, I made some notes here. So let's see. Like I was saying before, you can have 2 different or 4 or 20 different browsing sessions going at the same time. Like you could have, Firefox running on one virtual machine, and then Firefox on another, and they're completely isolated. Like you couldn't copy URLs over, and you can't move information back and forth. Now, it is possible to do that with this operating system, but they don't make it easy. They make you actually have to go through some hoops to do that, because that way your clipboard can't be used as a way to collect data. There's applications out there that will go back and recover your clipboard data from like 15 generations or more. So like if you put stuff on your clipboard and then use it and then erase it and then put more stuff on your clipboard to transfer data around your desktop, all that data is archived. It can be retrieved if you have the right software. This operating system precludes your system from doing that. It's not that easy.
That's revolutionary.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we don't even know that stuff exists, but I'm telling you, this is way ahead. It's revolutionary, absolutely. And you can manage everything you're doing. Like you could separate, bank access, your social media, for example. Like maybe you like to use Facebook. I mean, I stopped using Facebook, but I mean, some people like it. It's useful for marketing and this sort of thing, Twitter and all that stuff. You can put all that in a virtual machine. So it's as if the only computer using it is this isolated little box, and it doesn't get, there's no leaking into the rest of your computer.
Wow. So you and I, am I echoing to you guys? It sounds really bad in my headphones. Does it sound bad to you? Are we good?
I can hear you. It's kind of jumbled, though.
Really? All right. Well, we'll stick it out for further. But you and I, Mr. X, we were talking. We were talking the other day about show security, and you were talking about having an air-gapped device. Now, this is obviously extremely secure. If you wanted to save private keys on this and things like that, would this be akin to something like that? Like, it's obviously you unplug that the Silverback, no one has access to it. But even when you are plugged in, no one has access to it because of its intense security. Am I right?
Absolutely. I have to go to extra efforts when I make private keys for wallets. I do it a certain way, but I have to remove it from the computer, of course. So if you had it on the Silverback in a virtual machine, it's just like an air-gapped device. Air-gapped meaning that, like my USB, when I unplug it, it's not a smart device. So no one can actually get the data unless I plug it into a computer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you have your keys on the USB, obviously it's not accessible. But you can have it plugged in all the time, like you said, and again, no one can grab that data.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we get a lot of questions. We just started we opened up the crypto school last week at thecryptoschool.io, thecryptoschool.io.
Yeah.
And we're working on sort of the ultimate security video. We get questions about paper wallets and stuff like that. And I have my own little ways of protecting my stuff, but there's always questions of like, what could go wrong here, in the worst case scenario. And, a device like the Silverback seems like the ultimate solution.
I think it's not a smart device because you can't. It's not like the Trezor, but it's a definitely great device to store, your wallets on there, wallets or just the private keys at least. Yeah.
And certainly, it would be secure when you're going to access. Say, if you're going to access my Ether wallet, using the Silverback would be a great way to do that, right?
Yeah. Now, what this USB has is it comes in 64 gigabytes. 64 gigabytes is like. It's a huge amount of space. You can actually, you can write to it. So this is what's called persistent volume. Persistent volume just means that I can write to the space where something is installed. So with 64 gigabyte, the operating system only takes up like maybe 4. So you've got all this space where you can install wallets or whatever other applications you want to use. In fact, here's a really cool thing. Let's say you really like Windows, okay? I mean, Windows is useful. So I would create a virtual machine on my desktop and install Windows in that little box, like a DOS box, except it's a Windows box and it's its own virtual machine. So Windows has inherent security risks. It's really unsecure, but it's convenient to use, right? So if there's a security breach in Windows, well, so what? It's a virtual machine. I can do whatever I want with it. I can remove it from my desktop if I want. And another thing is, like with Windows, for years, people have had to keep up their virus software and this sort of thing. And I've always believed that most of the virus software that you buy is probably virus itself.
I just love the way your mind works.
Very good point, John.
You're probably just installing a virus is the way Mr. X looks at it. And I'm sure you're right.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, so with this operating system, you don't even need virus software. It's the actual architecture of the system precludes you to having the need for any proactive, virus protection. And not only that, imagine you're in some session and all of a sudden you get that ransomware page. And I've never had one. Hopefully I never will. But you get that ransomware page that says, hey, you got to pay me all this money or you'll never have your computer back again. Right?
Worst nightmare especially for somebody who is into cryptos.
Yeah. So what you do is you just click on the top right corner X box, the little X there in the window, and poof.
Wow. So they can't get anything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, Mr. X, let me ask you this: how do they set it up once they get delivery of this? And folks, you can go to Frank. What's the website?
Right now, okay, big story. I was late. I messed everything up. My Gold USB is where to get the Silverback now. So, for the moment, if you click on any of the buy buttons, you're going to get a little pop-up that says, do you want the Silverback or the My Gold USB? So we don't have a ton of info about the Silverback on there yet. So this show will be your reference for that for now. But go to My Gold USB, and basically any of the buy links will give you the option to get the Silverback. And we're doing a holiday special for little baby Jesus. In his, he's got his little Einstein's developmental tools, and so we're doing it. So,
good old 8 pound, 6 ounce big Jesus.
I like Christmas Jesus the best. So, sorry, folks. B&V have an obsession with Talladega Nights. We will not let it go, no matter how old the movie gets. But if you go to My Gold USB, we have .com. We have a sale for the holidays, and that is the Silverback is going to be. It's usually $329 for one. and we're doing $2.99 plus shipping through Christmas. So little sale for you, little gift from your friends at mygoldusb.com. So go check that out. That's where to go, mygoldusb.com.
Yeah, so the way to make this work, it's just like the Gold USB. You literally open the box. It comes in a tin box with a window. So you just pull it out of there and stick it in your USB drive, and then you boot up your computer, and it runs the USB operating system. Now, it's not magic like that. Your computer is defaulted to look at your hard drive first. So part of the features of your computer, most people don't even use all the features in their computer. But for this purpose, what you want to do is change the boot sequence in your computer. Like I always tell people, the example I have is I've got an HP Pavilion. So when I did this, I went and searched on one of the search engines, Quant or something like that, Google, it doesn't matter. And I searched on the phrase change boot sequence, and then I type in the brand of my computer, HP Pavilion. And there'll be several websites that'll freely give you the step-by-step. It takes like 2 or 3 steps to change the boot sequence. And all you're doing is basically, like on mine, I have to, while the computer's booting up, I press the F10 or hold it down. And then I get a DOS window. It looks like DOS. And it's a black and white screen with a menu. And I can arrow down the menu, and I can go through there, and I can tell it, okay, make the priority my USB drive, the port on the outside of the computer, boot there first. And then I tell it to save the settings and then reboot again. And now it's looking at my USB port. Now, what if I don't have my USB plugged in when I boot my computer up? The computer will still look to the port, but because there's nothing there, it'll just go on with it what it normally does. It'll go right to your hard drive and boot up your regular operating system.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So just go to the USB. And see, you're a technical guy, man. Why don't you chime in on how to do that for most people?
And just in terms of the Windows system, right? With hitting the F11?
Yeah, within the Windows.
Yeah, so just hold down the F11 button as you're restarting your computer, and then it'll enter into your BIOS to choose where to boot from. And you want to have your My Gold USB plugged in at that time.
Perfect. Good deal.
And another thing I suggest, that some people have difficulty with that. So what I suggest, like I have a local person here that, sometimes for free, he'll do stuff like that for me. I could take my computer over there, bring him a Big Mac or something, and he'll do it for me. It takes 2 minutes. Or if a college kid, these college kids will do stuff like that too. So it's really easy. Sometimes if you don't have anybody like that, I just suggest, like if you have a Mac, the Macintosh needs its own application, and we have a link to that. So you just download this application. It takes like 1 second, and then that gives you the menu where CJ was saying when you hold down F10 or F11, this Mac application gives you the menu when you boot up, and then you can do it from that point. That's slightly different on the Mac. But you could take the computer back to the dealer or wherever you got it from, and the people there that usually know how to do things like that, they can actually do that for you, if they're so inclined. It shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, we found the vast majority of people, we have instructions on mygoldusb.com where it just says get started. And I think we have to make a couple of little adjustments for the Silverback, but vast majority of people, they just open it up, they follow the instructions, and they're off to the races. And then if anybody has trouble, we do whatever we can to help you out. Yeah. So it's really not that difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, so we didn't even cover all the features. I mean, I'm just giving you guys like the plain English, because if I tell you all the tech stuff, you'd be like, what did this guy just say?
Right.
But when you get this and you start using it, you'd be like, oh my gosh, okay, so there's all this other stuff in there, and here's why it works. And in layman's terms, here's how it really, this is the key thing. In most of our operating systems, Mac, Windows, even Linux, the operating system functions on a kernel. A kernel is like the main program. It's this one centralized place where all the data is processed, right? Well, this operating system is not. It's all decentralized, which is the theme these days, right? Everything's decentralized. And so there's less risk if someone were to attack your computer in any way, because it's not going to attack just one thing with a big surface area, so to speak. It's going to have to attack lots of little things. Good luck finding it,
Absolutely.
But, let's say, for example, you like to play the DOS-based video games, with the grainy images and low resolution and stuff. You just like them, right?
Yeah, Pong.
This will let you do that. Yeah, Pong, whatever. This will, like Donkey Kong, this will let you do that. You can use this operating system to do things like that, because your virtual machine, again, is all isolated. All you're doing is using the memory in your computer's operating system. I mean, your computer's processor and this operating system, and you can run whatever application you want in there in a box, like a DOS box. So you can separate all kinds of things out from, whatever you want. I mean, whatever data you want to separate out. You can even go into a virtual machine and call it the dark web, and maybe you like to buy stuff on the dark web, or maybe you like to run a shop on the dark web. Maybe you want to sell stuff and you want to process everything in your cryptos. Well, there you go. No one's ever going to see anything. Again, it's like we and I would say, the only way this is really hackable or something or discoverable is if, again, someone's standing behind you.
Yeah, I love that. Like that explains it. Someone who's a little less technically minded, who's just paranoid. Say, well, they would have to be in the room with you in order to know what you're doing, which is just awesome.
Yeah. So if I could, let me get into the second part. Now, that's just the main operating system. Right? The second part is this two-part operating system. And this is where the fun is, because this is about communications, because it creates a gateway to the internet that's broken apart in two. The gateway, the part that gives you access to the internet with total anonymity, you can do anything. The dark web, whatever you want, surface web, doesn't matter. It's all anonymous the way you're using it. But when you bring data back or you're interacting with the web, there's a section of this operating system that's isolated once again. So you've got like a sub-isolated section in this second operating system that's called the workstation. So you've got the gateway to the internet, and then you've got the workstation. So again, it's like that. Really, it's like that cage in your front door. Instead of a front door, you actually have two front doors out on a cage, and no one's going to pierce that unless you let them. You have to deliberately let them. So this is really, I guess you could say, for the paranoid, like me. I love it. So,
and one or two of the listeners.
Yeah, I mean, you should want privacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, this is where, I mean, when you first started using the internet, I mean, we're like little babies, and now you got a little more sophisticated, and now we're getting a little more sophisticated. Now we've got money that can't be taxed or regulated. It's really cool. I love watching Bitcoin go up every time the government tries to regulate it or somebody disparages it in the news. It goes up against the dollar.
Love it.
So people are waking up and they're getting smart, and I'm saying, well, okay, let's get some privacy. Let's get some encryption. The government's using it. It has secrets. Let's have our own secrets.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah. This is the thing. So, so you know how you have different levels of encryption and privacy, and they say, well, you have so much encryption on a device. I'm going to tell you about this device. It's not a level of encryption. It is impossible that there would be a DNS leak. You can't. Because it's not like it can be hacked, because anything can be hacked on the internet. What this design allows you to do is it separates the ability of someone to hack it. Even if someone were to hack it, it's impossible to discover your DNS. You cannot walk back and discover it.
Incredible.
Yeah, so I mean, so you're talking about viruses, malware, ransomware, surveillance, spying. None of that is going to affect your whole computer. Maybe you might be, if you do something silly and you're in a window and you leave it open, then it's isolated in that window, in that virtual machine. But again, your whole computer's safe, your data and everything.
Yeah, I was thinking when you're talking, it wasn't that long ago that everybody was paranoid about doing anything on the internet with regard to privacy. I mean, you remember the days when people were just terrified of buying anything on the internet. And now we're looking at the prospect of retail being shut down permanently forever because of Amazon and things like that. And, now we've gotten to this point where we're all sharing everything constantly on the internet. And now it's almost like a pendulum has swung where we need to say to ourselves collectively, hey, maybe we should take our privacy a little seriously. And now we have this wonderful society transforming electronic money in Bitcoin and all of these other things. Now more than ever, we really need to be careful about the way we handle our money, because as much as all of us are so against banks, when it comes to Bitcoin and stuff like that, there is no fraud line to call to get your Bitcoin back. It's up to you to protect it.
Yeah.
There's no fallback. The other day when apparently I was in New York City buying $300 pair of boots while I was sitting on my couch at home. and I got this notification from my bank, and I called them up and said, "Yeah, it's not me. I'm not that into the boots. So those aren't my boots." And I had to turn my Chase card off and stuff like that. Well, when it comes to cryptos, and so many of us are not just interested in cryptos, but even building wealth with cryptos. That's your responsibility to track and be careful with and protect. And there's not a Chase hotline that you can call to shut down your Bitcoin account. So now more than ever, we need to get back to thinking about our privacy.
Yeah, well, one thing about freedom or liberty or whatever you want to call it is it requires more personal responsibility. Yeah, and just like when I was a teenager, I got a wallet one time, I think, for my birthday, and that's when I started having a wallet. Actually, I don't even have a wallet anymore. I had a wallet for like 10 or 15 years, and I stopped using a wallet, a physical wallet, because it's risk. It's risk. A lot of data's in there. But this is the next thing, and I think that while people have wallets and purses and whatever, they really need a way. I mean, a wallet is a way to accept money and spend money. Well, why not have a means on the internet that's completely private, which it should be, that's maybe it's on the dark web, but it's through an encrypted system that you have not only the ability to spend money, buy things, but also the ability to sell things and receive money and process money that's outside the banking system in total anonymity. Money should be completely anonymous, and it should be isolated from the government. The government's already abused its power.
Yeah.
So we should just take it back. But yeah, the one last thing on this device. Now, okay, so I said before, this is a 64 gigabyte. So what that means is you have like about 60 gigabytes of what's called persistent volume. That means you can add applications and you can put them in virtual machines. You can gain the same level of encryption. The entire desktop is encrypted, by the way. I mean, it just goes on and on. But this is not a 2.0 USB. This is a 3.0 USB. It is 10 times faster than the gold USB.
Wow.
10 times.
That's massive.
Yeah. You can run your Office software just like you always do, and it's going to be just that much faster.
Wow. Incredible.
Totally encrypted.
Yeah, because it's a solid state drive.
It's right? A solid state. I mean, USBs are solid state drives.
Yeah.
Now, a solid state drive, this is what I just did to my computer, just on the side note. I just replaced my hard drive with a solid state drive hard drive. So there are no moving parts in it. I'm going to tell you, this thing's like twice as fast, maybe 3 times as fast as my other hard drive. It's really slick.
Yeah, it's a huge change for anyone who hasn't had the pleasure of having a computer that runs a solid state drive. It's a whole new world.
Yeah, it's nice. So if you have, like, maybe most of us may not have a 3.0 USB drive port yet, but your next computer probably will have it.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's not something you can just upgrade to. It just comes with your next computer. But when you have the 3.0 on your hardware and you use this USB, it'll be 10 times faster than the gold USB. So it has to be a 3.0 USB drive on your computer. So, but awesome. The capacity's there. So yeah, it's really nice. But yeah, that's basically the summary of this device. Yeah.
Fantastic. And once again, folks, you can get this on mygoldusb.com, mygoldusb.com. Click the link for the Silverback. Regular price is $329.99. We're having a holiday special for $299. You can get the ultimate of ultimates, the Silverback. Long awaited. It is finally here. So check it out, mygoldusb.com, and then click on the link for the Silverback. With that being said, gentlemen, your final closing statements.
Yeah, keep secrets.
That's awesome.
Well said.
I would just throw in, we're getting ready. Mr. X and I have talked about this. We're going to do some special security stuff coming up. I can't promise on when, so please, nobody in our crypto school chat room scream at me for this. But we're going to work on this in the next couple of weeks to put up some serious security stuff for your cryptos. And Mr. X is going to help us with that. And of course, we'll be getting into how you can use the MyGold USB and now the Silverback to protect your crypto wealth that you're building. So we're super excited about that. And then told me I could say one last thing. I'll say 7 last things, right? We've got some pretty exciting announcements this week about the crypto school coming up, and I think people are going to be excited about that. So, but what you need today is mygoldusb.com. That's all I got. V, you there? You took
Yeah, I'm
over.
here. I'm sorry about that, folks. They're doing like construction right outside my window, so I apologize if I've been muted. I'm trying to figure out what these guys are doing out there. Anyway, thank you all for listening in, and we'll be doing another show again, recapping on this with much better audio. With that being said, CJ, take it away.